Hey, I'm Nick Shelton, social strategy coach and networking coach, author of An Introvert's Guide to World Domination. And with me today, I have Abby Rosenblum, who's runs a matchmaking service. But to better explain it, Abby, could you introduce yourself?
Of course. And thanks so much for having me. This is fun hanging out with you in the morning.
Absolutely.
So, I am the founder and matchmaker with the Social Modern Matchmaking. So, I spread the love in, the shortest way possible, introduce singles to one another, host events, set up blind dates. Nick, you have been lucky enough to go on a blind date and be on my live show. So, you're a real trooper when it comes to this matchmaking stuff.
Thank you. All right. So, what I wanted to do was since I have been on the dating scene and I coach networking, and networking goes hand in hand a lot of times with dating or complements dating. And I've had a lot of success in with myself and with other people. And you have had a lot of success with yourself and other people with the matchmaking. So I thought it'd be really cool to get together today and have a little chat about things that work for people or things that maybe people should avoid, but just kind of have a little conversation where we can address some things that people might be interested in when it comes to dating.
Sounds great. I think there definitely is a lot of overlap between networking and dating. Obviously, there are definitely some differences, but I think if we came to dating with like less pressure on ourselves, like we kind of
Okay.
do with networking, things would be a lot nicer.
Right. Yeah. So I absolutely agree, and yeah, I think that there's pieces of both sides that we can use to make a stronger overall dating thing. So
Exactly. Let's talk
yeah.
about the dating thing.
So I'd like to start off with like standards that people have, like what they want and what they're looking for. And I know that you usually have like a really thorough Q&A sort of thing on because I know it makes a huge difference in, hey, what exactly are you looking for? Are you looking for something like, are you trying to get married and have children? Are you trying to, you know, get married and not have children? Are you trying to just have a partner to go do stuff with? I know that there's lots of different levels to it depending on an individual's needs, what they're seeking and what they're looking for. And so can we get like a little 2 cents on uh, what you like, how you try to pull out the essence of what someone's looking for?
Totally. And I think sometimes when people come to me, they don't know what they're looking for. So that's sometimes the first place I need to start. Let's actually find out what it is you're looking for. And it usually involves a little bit of self reflection to kind of figure out what's important to you, what's important to me, because you probably want a partner that also values those things that are really important and, your core values.
Right.
So, I do a 1 hour, sometimes hour and a half, sometimes 2 hours, however long it takes to really get to know every single person who I'm going to potentially set up on a date. So, we'll talk about the basics like how tall are you? What's your body type? How old are you? Have you been in a relationship before? Have you been married? But then also things like what are your passions? What are your dreams? What are your goals? And of course, what are your values? And then how are we going to find a partner that is going to complement you, and not necessarily that you both just love to ski, but maybe that you both value loyalty and family and things like that. So, I'll just definitely ask a lot of questions. I feel a bit like a dating coach or maybe a coach in general. I'm like, okay, and why is it that it's so important that he drives a Ferrari? Like, what is that about? I don't get that a lot. But, people will say things like, she has to have a great relationship with her family. I'm like, well, not everyone has that option. So what
Right.
really are we getting at here? So just kind of asking lots of questions and really getting people to open up is is my probably number one skill.
Okay, yeah, and I have been through that process with you, and yes, it is very thorough, and I really like it. Uh, the angle that I usually use with people, because that's I like your thing because it's very thorough and you can really try to figure out what they're looking for. I
Yeah.
just My thing is I'll just say, kind of what are you looking for? Something? Are you trying to do some short term thing? Or is this more of a long term thing? Or maybe a short term that turns into a long term? Just because I try to break it down into its most simple components. Like, are you just trying to hook up or something? Or are you trying to actually find a relationship? And then based off of those two things, then I try to push them into a certain direction. But, I definitely appreciate your way. Uh, it's a bravo. Yes, that's it's a very
Yeah,
good
I mean, I
tool.
think kind of the thing with my way too is if someone is not looking for something serious, then my way will definitely weed them out. Because they will definitely not want to sit through that. They won't want to open up about it. They probably aren't over an ex yet, so they don't want something long term. Because for me, I really only work with people who are like, you know what, I want something serious, whether or not it means marriage, totally up to them, or lifetime companionship. Um, but yeah, I think that's at least an important thing. People are ready for commitment.
Right. And what you said earlier is a lot of people don't know what they want, and I find that a lot too. There's a lot of people that they know they want something, but they're not sure what it is. And I think it is important to figure that out. And going through your steps does help that person figure it out. Also, learn think about things that they weren't thinking about before, and figure out exactly what it is. What is it that I want? And like you said about the Ferrari thing, if they said he has to drive a Ferrari, then you say, why is that? Why is that important to you? Then maybe you can figure out what's lying beneath that, and that'll help you maybe something that they don't see. It'll help you see something to maybe find a good match for
Okay, it's kind of a fun game I play because people fill out a questionnaire before we meet, and they'll say like one part is describe your ideal partner and then list your deal breakers. And it's always fun to be like, so you listed this deal breaker, which ex is that coming from? Because that's pretty much where it always is, and it's kind of like fun little game for me to play to figure out, ooh, who messed you up in the past that could
them.
be baggage.
Right, you're like, so no Dave Matthews Band, huh? Well, that's odd. You seem like a pretty decent band. What happened to you? What happened around Dave Matthews? Yeah, that's just an example, everybody. I have nothing against Dave Matthews Band. Okay. So, also, let's say expectations on dates. I know that, I believe that you have said something like, don't expect to fall in love or see fireworks or something like that on your first date. And, I believe that yeah, that's a good thing, because if you do, usually that's not a good, not a good thing. Uh,
We can
but
100% agree on that one.
yeah,
That if you do have fireworks or sparks, I mean, it's not necessarily like, hey, this is a super red flag, run away, but something to be like, why am I so comfortable with a stranger after
right,
knowing them for an hour? What are they kind of like hitting on that, is some kind of past thing that's just making me comfortable? And it is a good thing, or is it something that is not so good that's making me comfortable?
right.
So it's
I
kind
know
of an interesting thing for sure because we're taught that that's how a first date is supposed to be.
yes. And I know I felt drawn to people before. I didn't feel, like the fireworks and all that, but I felt like, oh, this person's interesting. I would like to know more. Um, so what do you think is the correct balance there on, what you ultimately ideally would feel after a first date?
Yeah, after a first date, in my ideal world, I would want someone to think their date is attractive. They would be curious to get to know them more, and they would feel comfortable to be around them, spend more time with them, and they'd be looking forward to the next time seeing them. If someone is always like, maybe you do a first date and then so much time goes by, you never plan the second one. I'm like, well, you probably both did each other a favor, because if you're really not looking forward to it and you don't want to schedule it, then it's probably not someone that you want to get to know more.
Right.
So I do think that it does take time sometimes for, connection to grow, for attraction to grow too. So, if after the first date you're not totally smitten, that's okay. Give it a second, a third try. And if then you're still like, okay, I'm still not feeling this, I've given this 3 tries, then I say, okay, maybe time to move on. But people are so nervous on a first date. I don't know anyone who isn't nervous on a first
Right.
date. Um, if they are, they maybe have gone on too many first dates. So, everyone is a little nervous and weird on that first date. So give people a break. And yeah, just I think have an open mind is the key thing with the first date.
Right.
Um, yeah, I hope that was a good answer to your question. It was kind of a long one.
Excellent answer. And one of the things that you had mentioned is that everyone's nervous on first dates, and uh, that is a lot of times the case. Uh, but do you have any tips to combat being, being nervous or overly nervous? Because everyone might have a little bit of something, but what do you tell people, like how to prepare for that first date so they're not, as far as being nervous goes, how to go into it?
Yeah. So the first thing I always tell everyone I send on a date is to set an intention. I think this really helps with nerves, because sometimes our nerves are like, I don't know what's going to happen from this. Like, what if it doesn't happen? What if it does happen? What if they like me? What if they don't like me? So I have everyone set an intention that is something that is not like to meet my future partner. It's got to be something like to laugh, to try new food, to try a new restaurant, to make someone else laugh, to get to know someone's passions, something like that. So then okay, I'm going into this. This is my intention. Maybe it's just to meet someone new. That's an easy one. You show up, you've accomplished it. I have found that that really helps with nerves. And I also do just like the classic thing that a lot of people say is do the power pose, where your arms are either out like this or like this. It does make you feel better. Like do it in your car, or also give people pep talks before dates. Okay,
Ah,
we're
nice.
all good. And also fine to admit that you're a little nervous on the date. Because sometimes just putting it out there, being vulnerable like that can create connection with the other person. Just be like, hey, I'm really nervous. Can we get a drink? Or, something like that. And I think showing that you can be vulnerable will actually kind of help you connect with the person across from you.
Oh, all excellent points.
Thanks.
Yes, I know that uh, I have been told by some of my dates that they were nervous, and then I'd say, "Why are you nervous? No need to be nervous." But I know that one of the things that many years ago that happened, I remember I was really nervous, and then I saw that she was really nervous. You could see it, in her. And then as soon as I saw her being nervous, I thought in my mind, well, we both shouldn't be nervous. I'm going to stop being nervous. We can't, it's weird if we're both like that. So then what helped me is when I was going on dates, I would just, as I'm pulling up, I think, well, they're nervous already. So I don't have to be nervous because once again, there's no need for both of us. She's taking all the nervousness. She's going to play the nervous part. I will be the not nervous one, and or I'll do like the dream. This is just a dream. This isn't actually happening. It's a simulation. So let's just go on in here and see what happens. Or another one is, like you said, that vulnerability. I might start out with an embarrassing story, and then if I'm showing that, hey, I don't take myself too seriously, here's an embarrassing thing that happened, and then we can laugh at my expense, and usually that lets them know, oh, okay, they let their guard down, I've already let my guard down, and then
Yeah.
that also can kick off a conversation as well. But it helps me at least push past, and a lot of other people that, a lot of these things, they're really simple, But yeah, you
Yeah.
can do the pep talk as well, or pep talk yourself, or listen to some some empowering music or something in the car while you're waiting. And yeah, it's it's always interesting. But yeah, I know that there's a lot of different strokes for different folks, what might work for you. But there's many different tips. And yeah, I definitely like yours for tackling the potential nervousness.
Totally. And I think a lot of people are nervous too. Like, what are we going to talk about?
Yeah.
I get that a lot. Like, what if we run out of things to talk about? And I'm like, at least if you go on a date through me, I have met everyone you're going to talk to. So I know this person is at least mildly interesting to me.
Yeah.
And I picked you for each other because I think you're both interesting and are going to like each other. So I always say, get someone talking about something they're passionate about. If you can find that thing, you're never going to run out of things to talk about.
Right. Let's see. Yeah, the talking about something you're passionate about. That's one thing that I wanted to. A part of that, like that you brought up, is we're all told that we're supposed to get the other person talking. People love talking about themselves. Get them talking about what their passions are, and then kind of kick back and listen. And but there has to be some kind of balance there, I would think,
Oh,
because
for sure.
so, for example, say you and I are on a date, and then you show up and you're thinking, I have to get him talking about his passions. And I show up thinking, I have to get her talking about her passions. Then, it's this weird tennis match, more like racquetball, because it's a
Yeah.
little more chaotic. On I'm trying to get you talking, you're trying to get me talking, and but because we're both trying to be good listeners, and then it can be a little awkward if sooner or later someone's got to kind of take the lead there. What are your thoughts on that?
It's definitely a balance, and it honestly totally depends who you're with. I'm sure we've all been on dates with the person who it's like pulling teeth to get them to talk. And then, yeah, you're probably going to do a lot of the talking on the date.
Right.
But the best dates is when there is that give and take, knowing when, hey, I'm going to share and when I'm also going to listen, but also listen and not be thinking about what I'm going to say next. Is something that I've been working on a lot with some of my clients, because sometimes we're sitting there and it's like, wait, did I actually listen to anything that person said? Or am I just thinking about my response? I think that's just kind of a key, and the conversation will flow. When you first meet anyone, I mean, it's a little like, hey, we're kind of feeling each other out and how we're going to interact. But it will definitely get there.
Yes. Yes, that's true. I think it does. If you work at it, it definitely will get there. And I think a good part of that is back to the interests, the passions. If it's I know that you ask people, hey, so what do you like? And I like to also volunteer stuff, and I tell people, hey, let people know so they don't have to guess and dig so much. Like, okay, then what happened? What did you like about that? Hey, I went on vacation. Okay, where did you go? Oh, I went here. All right, then what did you do? That was, so people don't have to dig. You can say, hey, I went to Cancun and I went sailing and I love sailing, something like that. I love kayaking. And
Mhm.
so then people kind of know, okay, all right, my uncle loves kayaking. I know a little bit about that. This person seems to love kayaking. Now we have something to work with.
Yeah.
But so don't, if there's something that you're passionate about, I always tell people, please throw that out there, throw out your passions, so the person doesn't have to do the digging to figure out what it is. And if you throw them out, then that person can either say, oh yeah, I also like this one thing, or they can at least take one of those points and kind of dig into it and maybe find some common ground.
Totally. I mean, I feel like as human beings, it's pretty easy for us to find some kind of common ground on most things. I mean, unless someone is like, like a snake hunter and lives in a van, I don't know. I may have trouble maybe having some commonalities with that person personally.
Right. But
But maybe we could still find some. I bet we could.
that's, that would be such an interesting person. I would
Yeah,
think a
right.
snake hunter that lives in a van, I have so many questions. You know, we don't have anything in common, but I have questions. I have a lot of questions about that. I would say, why did Abby set me up with this van living snake person? Apparently, she thought it was a good idea, but I don't care about that. I have questions about a snake hunter, and you know, when
Oh,
I'm
God.
seeing my coworkers or whatever, we're going to have some really good conversations about, hey, I went out with a snake hunter that was in a van last night. What did you guys do? You know, that's
Yeah, no shade to anyone listening who might be a snake hunter who lives in a van. You know, we're not judging. We're just using you as an example because your lifestyle is very unique.
and I have questions. So please let me know if that's you because I would like to have this conversation, snake hunter.
I would too. Sounds like maybe this is my retirement profession. I don't know. Sounds kind of interesting.
Um,
You know what I was gonna ask you, what have you been on a date where you have just been like, oh my God, how am I even gonna make it through this hour, 2 hours? Has that happened? And how did you proceed with that?
that has happened. And so I just said, well, I'm just going to like you had said, have a what was it? Have a goal or
Intention.
intention, yes. And so I would just say, well, I'd show up and say, well, I automatically know this is not going to work, but I'm still here. So I'd say I could just be one of those types of people that says, hey, this isn't going to work. Bye. But I'm not that. So I say, well, I'm going to have fun with this. We're going to have a good time here.
Yeah.
So, and actually, I think it makes it's a lot less painful, and I think they actually end up probably liking me more just because I'm so relaxed and laid back because I'm thinking I've already kind of checked out of it, but I try to have fun. So I might make it in my mind. I say, I'm going to try some appetizers. This is the appetizer date. I'm really going to enjoy these appetizers. And then I'm going to talk about the appetizers and how much I enjoy these appetizers or how much I don't enjoy the appetizers. Or, you know, there'll just be all these, I just, you know, it completely takes the pressure off. I should do this for all dates.
You
Uh,
should,
so like,
yeah.
this isn't going to work in my mind and go, all right, now that it's not going to work. Oh, that reminds me, one of my friends, one thing he used to do on dates, and I never did this, but I always thought it was funny. He would say that somewhere in the first 5 minutes of the date, you know, first date, he would say, "All right, this isn't going to work. I want to break up." And then he'd stand up from the table, and then he would sit back down, and he'd say, "Well, now that we've broken up, how are you doing? What's how you been since the breakup?" You know, and then he
Oh
would
my
go
God.
into this its second segment of the date, and he'd said it would make him feel better, and he would be more relaxed in that second part because he's like, okay, yeah, we broke up, even though they were never together, and then he'd say, now we can just hang out and enjoy this. And but yeah, so for me, I would just I don't know, I'd just really relax and have fun with it. Just saying, well, there's no pressure now because I'm actually not expecting this to work. Well, I know it's not going to work out. This is not working out. So I'll just enjoy my time.
Mhm.
And I really end up having a really good time on those dates that I know aren't going to work out.
Yeah. And do they ever surprise you? Has anyone ever surprised you and then you've actually gone out again?
No.
Okay, good. So you have a good sense of whether or not it's going to work out.
Yes, but you know, there have been some that's kind of been the opposite. Well, it's happened to me where I think that the young lady I was with probably had that same effect where she
Yeah.
figured, well, this isn't going to work out once I sat down, and then she was having fun with it, and I was thinking, man, this seems to be going really well. And then she's like, no, no,
No,
it's
this is not going well.
not. Go, oh, okay. So it's not always one-sided. It can happen from either side, either,
Oh, it definitely can.
but it's fun either way. And I respect it. I admire it. I go, ooh, yeah, well played. I like it. So it's okay when it happens to
Yeah.
me as well.
What are some, like, what's one of the best dates you've been on? And why was it so great?
Well, the best dates, and I was gonna bring this up also because
Yeah.
I wanted to see what your 2 cents was on environments, because I know a lot of times, so I know that you do dinners, you do events and other stuff.
So first dates for me always like drinks, appetizer kind of thing, or coffee.
Okay, that's their first dates. Okay, so first dates, for me, I found that my best first dates were never uh, the drinks and coffee. They were specifically, it was either archery, archery date,
What?
where we go and we meet at the archery place, and
Yeah.
they have a little instructor there, and then we go and shoot bows and arrows, and then we'll go have appetizers and drinks after that. But the archery gets us loosened up, and it's kind of fun. And so that has been just a awesome first date thing. And then Dave and Buster's, Dave and Buster's, Dave and Buster's,
Oh my God.
you
I
know,
love it.
and so Dave and Buster's, because you just go and you're just playing games. You can be like kids, you
Yeah.
you go and have fun, and so instead of that kind of job interview thing where you're sitting there, you're just playing, and then you go eat after that, after you've laughed and played some games.
Hmm.
So for me, the best dates have been where it was also I did a karaoke first date once, and that was pretty good, uh,
That's awesome.
because what had the story with that was, there was a young lady that I saw her, and I told my friend, I said, I'm gonna go up and ask her to marry me, right? Just to see what she says. And then so I went up and I said, hey, would you like to get married? Would you like to marry me? And then she said, no. And then I said, call your father and ask him if it's okay. And she said, what? No. And I said, oh, come on. And then I said, let's get married. When are we going to get married? She said, no, we're not going to get married. And I said, we should get married. And she said, no. And then I said, well, what are we supposed to do then? And she said, how about karaoke? And I said, all right, we'll do that. And then we went on a karaoke date, and it was great. Yeah, we dated. It was a wonderful, is a awesome first date. And so I overshot, and then she reeled it back to where she thought was appropriate.
That's a big move because a lot of women might just be like, oh, this guy is weird. What's going on?
Yeah, well, so I'm not recommending that everybody do that, because
Yeah, yeah, right. We're definitely not recommending that, but
that was a good thing. But yeah, karaoke is it's kind of tough, and like my singing voice isn't very good, but I do a good performance with it, and so that helps. But yeah, karaoke, if you're nervous just going on regular dates, karaoke is really gonna be pushing the limits. But
yeah, I think some of my introverts would murder me if I sent them on a karaoke
right.
date.
So, but they could do Dave and Buster's, and they could do archery.
I do love like a date where there is some kind of thing you can do. Like I totally agree where you're not just sitting. Like it seems like a lot of the dates in the past year too have been let's go for a walk. Maybe we bring our dogs, maybe we don't, and then we go get a coffee, or then we go get a drink.
Right.
Um, or let's have a picnic,
Yeah.
and then you can kind of show off your picnic skills and bring some cool things to the park. But I almost think COVID has been really good for dating because it's forced people to get creative beyond just like, let's go get drinks and then let's go get drinks again. And then let's go over to each other's houses and have drinks. And that's kind of like the pattern that, everyone was just kind of in before.
Right. Yeah. It has. I think it has been really good to. There's also a lot of people that haven't been out in a while. So when
That's
you do say, "Hey, do you want to go out?" They say, "Yes, yes, I would like to get out of the house. Please, let's go somewhere." And
I
so,
know. Someone invited me to go like out on Sunday night, and I actually almost said yes because I was like, "Oh my God, I haven't been out to a bar."
right. Yeah. And speaking of going out and being out, one of the things pre-COVID and hopefully coming up very soon is for me one of my biggest things. Like, so I know that you do the do the Q&A and you set people up with what you think
Mhm.
is and you've seen a lot of people, so you know what works and what people might have a better chance of being compatible. And one of the techniques that I like to do is have people go to events. So whatever your passion is. So for example, if you enjoy like the art walk. So if you like art and they have these art walks down, the various,
I
in,
miss those.
yeah,
That has not been a thing for a while.
right. Yeah. And so if you like that sort of thing, I would tell people, and so you could either just go by yourself or they have these on, meetup.com. They'll have these little meetup groups where they'll do that. Or it could be snowshoeing. You could say, I want to do snowshoeing, or, uh, there's many, many different things you can do. But if there's something that you like, so let's use the art thing, for
Yeah.
example, you can go to the meetup group. And so you're doing what you want to do, and but you're also can kind of hook it into dating. And this is how you'd hook it in is, so if I went to the art walk and then I'm going with this group and we're looking at stuff, now there's no pressure. They don't say there's this one person that you need to talk to and see if you like each other. No, I'm just there and I can look at the art. I can just be in my own element. I can point out stuff about paintings and laugh and joke and be myself in my element that I feel comfortable. And then whoever's there sees me in my element. So I'm not in like job interview mode. I'm just in, hey, I'm just here looking at art. There's no pressure whatsoever. No one has to like me. I don't have to like anyone. And then if there's somebody there that I like, then I can say, oh, what do you think about this? Hey, are you going to the other art walk event that's over there? I'll see you then. And then so you could actually be more comfortable in your element with no pressure, and then be around people that you might have an interest in several times. It could be, 4 or 5 times that you see them and get comfortable just conversing with them. And then you can kind of split it off and say, hey, there's this little art museum that has a speakeasy in the behind it. Would you like to go with me and we'll look at the art and then we'll go to the speakeasy and have some cocktails? And then you've already gotten to know this person with a no pressure. And so all that introductory stuff that you would normally have on that first date, where you're like, so what do you like mountain bikes? You don't have to do that because you've already been comfortable and had the
Mhm.
small talk about something that you both are passionate about while you were out and about comfortably. And now you can be more relaxed when you show up. You already kind of know them, and then you can talk about this art, go and have your cocktails. And so I stress to people, hey, try to find activities that you already like, that you might not be actively going out and doing, but something that you like or would like to do, would be interested in doing. So maybe I don't go snowshoeing or like snowshoeing, but I'd say I would like to meet the type of people that would go snowshoeing. And then
Mhm.
I could sign up and go, and then I'm going to meet those people. And then we can maybe make a connection that way. And it's a lot more stress free. What are your 2 cents on that?
Oh, totally. I agree with everything you said. That's the whole reason that I do a lot of singles events too, because some people, the blind date is it's not for everybody, and I think the events, maybe there's a little pressure because it is a singles event.
Right.
But the whole thing is, I always tell people, come, maybe you'll meet a friend, maybe you'll meet a business connection, maybe you'll meet a romantic connection. You never know. Like I'm doing a 420 yoga class.
Right.
The people who come to that, they already have two things in common. They like smoking weed and they like yoga.
Yeah.
So you're already going to have lots of stuff you two can chat about.
Right.
I'm very curious how that one's going to go, honestly. I have
Yeah.
not done a 420 friendly event before.
On those for those events, do you keep the balance of men and women? Like, is there a certain, or does it end up being like 90% women, 10% guys, or 90% guys, 10% women, or what? How does
Yeah,
it?
I definitely try to keep the balance since I am dealing with, men who want to meet women and women who want to
Yeah.
meet men. So definitely try to keep the balance. With some events, it'll be like, whoa, I'm like, it's all men RSVP'd, or with some, I'll be like, it's all women. It kind of depends on what it is. Like I had a meditation speed dating. It was like all women. I was like, okay, guys, RSVP, get over here. Or I had what was an event that was all guys? Usually the things that are like happy hours or breweries, then those tend to be more men. Um, but I actually I've been doing some just men's events to help men just, feel like they can open up, they can chat about their dating issues, and maybe this is something that you and I need to partner up on.
Right.
And that's been really cool to see guys ask questions of each other, learn things, and just have like a place where they feel like they can actually share what they're struggling with dating. Because men and, just for the most part, aren't really sharing these kind of things with their friends
Right.
usually.
Right. Yeah. Everyone has to be cool all the time, so you can't really share. Like, how does this work? I don't know.
No.
And the meditation speed dating, that sounds interesting. Uh, I've done speed dating before, but I don't know where the meditation would fit in there.
So how I have done it is we start with the meditation. So, everyone gets there and they're like, oh, I'm so nervous. What am I going to do? I'm so excited. And so it just kind of like brings everybody down to
Oh,
like, let's just like chill.
yeah.
Let's set intention together. Let's go into this with an open mind. And it's been pretty cool to see. Meditation is obviously something that a lot more people are open to now than, maybe even 5 or 10 years ago.
Right.
But it's kind of cool because it is two things that you wouldn't think would go together.
Right.
You
But I
think
can see if you meditated before, because I was thinking, do you meditate in between each date? And I was like, that would be kind of weird. But
your date is you just staring into each other's eyes and meditating together.
but if you meditated before, I think that would actually, yeah, help the vibe a little bit. I think that'd be really
Oh
good.
yeah. No, it totally does. Because I know just people come in with all kinds of different energies to speed dating, whether it's nervous or anxious or excited or just dreading it.
Wow,
So
yeah, let me know for the next one of those, because I think I'd definitely be interested to try that out.
yeah, I've been co-hosting those with my friend David Ganselman, and he is actually a meditation teacher, and he's working on a whole app that is kind of to help daters, kind of be more intentional and learn things. And I'm gonna help him eventually create some content for that too. So
Oh, awesome.
lots of meditation and speed dating to come.
Okay. And I wanted to bring up pets. So it seems like these days, everybody, not me, but everybody else,
Not me either.
not us, but I'd say like 90% of the people these days seem to have pets. And so it's a little strange. Well, I understand it. I get it. It's nice to have pets, but at the same time, uh, for me, not having a pet, I think when people have pets, for the things that I have planned, because I do a lot of travel and I like to travel with my girlfriend or whatever it is I have, my significant other. I like to say, hey, do you want to go to Costa Rica next weekend or whatever? But then like, well, no, who's going to watch Sparky or whatever? So, uh, and then if you want to go do something, you always have to be back because the dog needs to go out or needs to be fed. There's this anchor that's there that it's this responsibility that people impose on themselves, and you say, why would you do this to yourself? Since I live in this apartment downtown, it's always interesting to me when it's either snowing or raining outside and you see all the people out there with their dogs in a little bag, and I say, oh, that's a shame. That's a shame. It's 2 a.m. or whatever. And like, wow, that's too bad. You have to be out there like that. But and then when I date somebody that has, say, a dog, there's a point where, and I tell them at the beginning when it starts to get serious, I say, just so you know, I'm not taking your dog out just because uh, I don't have one, because I don't want to be picking up dog poop out at 2 a.m. But then there comes a time where they say, hey, can you take the dog out? And I say, do you remember 4 months ago when I said I wasn't going to be doing that? And then, this is a conflict thing. I know I'm supposed to bend and say, oh yes, I will do it. But I don't, because I say I'm very stern about there will be no poop picking up.
You're like, this is where I draw my line.
I've drawn the line. So yes, my deal breakers. I don't want to be picking up anybody else's dog. Now, if I had a dog, sure, but I don't have the dog. But anyway, I guess the point is, I know that it's got to factor in somehow to this dating thing, and so I always, I'm open. Like for me, I'm open to dating people with pets, but I think that they lose a point or two when they have the pets, because I think about, oh, this is going to inconvenience some things. But that's just me. I know it doesn't work that way. Some people like it when people have pets because they say, oh, I want to come and play with the dog or whatever. But what have you seen the pet effect in the dating?
It definitely is a thing that comes up. Either like what you said, you're like, hey, I don't have pets. I don't want that as like something tying me down. Or as I love animals, and if someone doesn't have an animal, I'll be like, whoa, like what's going on there? And I feel like just personally, I have a hard time because so many people treat their pets like human children.
Right.
And for me personally, that's where I would draw the line. Like if I met a guy who was like, this is my golden doodle snarfy, and he goes everywhere with me and we do everything together. And for me personally, I couldn't handle that either. So we're the minority together here, that we're not like, yes, let's bring the dogs on dates and go for walks. And especially in Denver, I mean, like just to move here, I think you have to have a golden retriever and a forerunner or a Jeep or something like that.
Everyone it's amazing. So I think a lot of people do, they meet at the dog park. People meet at the dog park all the time. And so listeners, the dog park, go there with your dog, meet some people. And also I have had a lot of fun playing with people's dogs. So when I've been dating and someone has a dog, I do play with the dogs. I just say, I don't want to assume responsibility for the dog. And
Yeah.
but I do enjoy pets. I do like them. I just think that, that's more of a, once you've settled down or something and you say, hey, we're going to have our house and with the yard and then the dog that runs it. I don't know. That's just my thing. But a lot of people, apparently 90% of people disagree with that and they want their pet now. And that's okay. But I just know that it does factor in.
No, it definitely does. And a lot of people are also allergic to dogs and cats. It's like very common. I find like lots of people are allergic to cats.
Right.
And lots of people have cats too. So that's like the biggest thing that I'm like, oh, these people would be so perfect for each other, but a cat is standing in the way of this relationship. I'm just
Yeah.
like, no, I don't want them to have to take Benadryl every day for the rest of their lives.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's that. Yeah. People should consider that. But well, yeah, you can't say, hey, you're would you like to go out? I'm going to need you to get rid of your cat. I'm allergic. Then yeah, it's I guess that would probably go
You
under
want to
deal
be that
breakers
person.
for some people.
Yeah, I actually once was in a relationship where this guy had a cat. I have no issues with cats, but this cat like hated me. Like it despised me. This cat and I were just like had issues from the start. It was like very territorial. It hated me when we moved in together. It was just disaster. And there was a point where it was like kind of like we either like can't live together
Yeah. One
or
of
you
us has
like,
to go.
yeah, one of us has to go. I was like, you have to pick between me and your cat. He did choose me, but I kind of feel terrible that that was what happened, you know?
Right. I understand.
Ugh.
Oh yeah, that's I've had good luck with I have been allergic to some people's pets, and so I'm not just generally allergic to cats or dogs, but there has been like a couple of breeds of dogs that I've been allergic to, and then a couple of breeds of cats I've been allergic to, and that's been an issue. But yeah, it all worked out. But
But
I
yeah,
wanted
people are just
to
very into their pets. So, something to consider, something I ask everybody for sure.
definitely something to consider, and to also people need to definitely put that on their if it's a deal breaker list if they are allergic or something like that. And
Totally.
I wanted to talk about how to dress. Like when people are on their first date, I know that you have some guidelines on how people should dress. And I also have some guidelines, but then I also had a date that a very specific example I wanted to bring up. But first, I'd like to hear I've heard your 2 cents on how to dress, but for the people that haven't heard it, please explain how you tell people to dress for the first date.
Totally. So, we are in Denver. So I want to just put that in context too, that if you're in New York, you would probably dress differently for a
Right.
date. Because Denver is such a casual place. So if you show up in a three-piece suit to a first date, that might be a little much.
Right.
So my advice is A, don't wear something you've never worn in your closet. Wear something that is something you like, that you feel comfortable in, that you feel like is you. If you it's an all black outfit, which is what I'm wearing right now, then that's what you should wear.
Yeah.
And I think wear something too that, makes you feel confident. So it's a little dressier. So not like going to meet your friends at a brewery on a Saturday, but maybe a nice dinner. Your parents are coming and you're taking them out when they're visiting or something. So, and wear something too that, as for women, pants that you can sit in. Everyone has pants that everyone has their standing jeans. Make sure comfortable, cute, feel confident. And I always tell people too, have like 3 just outfits you always use for first dates. Um, because first dates aren't going to happen again. For the second
Right.
date, wear something else. And then I just had my rotation of a few outfits and just, that was the theme.
That's really good. Yeah, I like that. I like that the 3 first date outfits. That's a really good idea. So then you don't have to think about it. You can just pick from these are my first date outfits.
Yeah, you're like, this is the one if there's a light breeze. This is the one if it's the middle of winter.
Right.
Like,
Yeah, that's really good. I like that. And
thanks.
so I tell
What do you tell
people,
people? Yeah.
yeah, I just say, uh, dress for, well, whatever the event is. So whatever you're supposed to
Mhm.
be doing, if whatever activity it is, but one level up. So just take it one notch
Yeah.
up, because it's always better to be, it'd be better to be one notch up than one notch down. And so, just spice it up a little bit more. So maybe you have a collared shirt instead of just like your just a t-shirt
T-shirt.
with
Yeah.
Guns and Roses on it or something. So just one level up. But I guess if you were going to the what is it the axe throwing or something like that, then maybe you wear the Guns and Roses t-shirt. for that. I guess, I don't know if you wear the polo shirt for axe throwing, but
I think it's also about the shoes, I've noticed. Like, do not wear the ratty old pair of tennis shoes. You
right,
could still be wearing jeans and nice shoes, and it elevates the look too.
right, yeah. So I say one level up, and then, and remember, you're having a first impression thing, so you're trying to actually make a decent first impression, and I know you want to be comfortable, but try to, one level up shouldn't make you uncomfortable, but, try to show off your best you is what I say. And so my example was, so there were two dates that I went on fairly recently, and one of them showed up like, so I would say in her uh, pictures, right? In her pictures, she was always kind of dressed up, and she had, she had, she was done up nicely,
Yeah.
like in a professional way. Like, I don't know, like if you were going to work in an office building or going out on the town, she was dressed up nice. So the pictures, she was dressed up nice. And then when she arrived, she looked like the same person. So it wasn't this crazy thing, but she was dressed down. So she dressed like, I don't know, like she'd been watching Netflix movies all day. And, there was no makeup. In all her pictures, she had makeup. Now she's like, no makeup. And she's like, hey, what's going on? And then I was thinking, well, she's beautiful. But at the same time, I was thinking, what's going on? Why did she not
Why
put
didn't you put in
makeup
a
on?
little effort?
I
Yeah.
like to think that, I should be makeup worthy, yeah, put a little time in. You knew that this was like a first date. Why wouldn't you put the effort in to actually try to show up and be like, hey, I'm showing up for this? And
Yeah.
so that kind of so it was a awkward start, just because in my mind I was thinking, what, she's just like, hey, I'm just showing up. So it's like she gave up before she even showed up, sort of thing. Or at least that's how I read it. So people that don't put any effort in, the other person might be receiving it that way. Like, did you not want to be here, or what are you doing? And so I figured, if you had presented yourself that way, so for example, her little pictures, she was made up, and then she showed up not made up. And so I was like, huh. But then I had a date with another woman who, all of her pictures not made up, and pretty much like in shorts and just kind of a lot of leisure, relaxed wear. And then I said, well, this is most likely how she's going to show up. She showed up maxed out. It was like we were going to go someplace fancy. She was dolled up. Fortunately,
That's
I
the
was,
better scenario of the two.
yeah, yeah. So I I wasn't, in an Adidas tracksuit or anything. I was actually dressed up fairly nicely, because I always dress up nicely for my first dates. And so when she showed up dressed up, I was thinking, wow, she showed up. And I even commented on it. I said, wow, thanks, this is great. And then she said, I haven't been out for a while. And I said, I'm doing this, I'm going out. And so,
Hmm.
yeah, I really felt it was great. It started off really great, just because I felt, hey, she has the intention that she wants to come out and make this, she's putting her effort in. And whether it's for her, or me, or whatever, she decided, hey, I'm invested in this. I want to actually uh, see what we can do here. And
Mhm.
so that and so if she would have shown up, since my initial exposure to her was the casual way, if she would have shown up casual, I kind of expected that, because I never saw anything different. And so if that would have happened, I would have been like, okay, yeah, this is what I expected. But since it was more, I said, wow, I was really impressed. And then the one that if that was already, dressed up how I thought that she was going to be, and then she showed up down, then a little, I was a little off put or put off. I don't know. And then, but if she would have shown up at least kind of how I was expecting, then that would have been fine, or at least kind of halfway there, halfway in between the two, something. So there was some effort. I don't know, but I just figure I think it makes kind of that first impression. I think it makes a difference to at least show that you're putting in some kind of effort. So at least look somewhat presentable and like you want to be there, I would say.
100% agree. Yeah. If you don't put that effort in, it just looks like, oh, okay, just another date. Like, how many dates have you been on this week? Have you been on like 6 other dates and you just don't care anymore?
Right.
Don't care
Like
about me?
another one of these.
Yeah, I think it definitely is important. And if you don't really want to put in that effort, then I would suggest maybe take a little break from dating.
Right. Exactly. Phone etiquette.
Ooh, I love it. We don't talk
So,
about this enough.
and so what I mean by that, so not necessarily talking on the phone. I'm talking about just like what to do with your phone when you're on the date. And
That's
people,
what I was thinking too.
right.
Yeah.
And I usually I tell people leave it in the car or put it on silent and then put it away somewhere and don't bring that sucker out
Yeah.
the whole time, just so you can focus on the other person. Because I know I don't like it when someone just puts it right there on the table or whatever, and then I'm like, oh, you're just, and then their phone's usually stuff's happening on it. It's pinging,
Yeah.
they're kind of glancing at it and say, "Can you be here with me, please?"
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
I totally agree. If you can leave it in a car, if you're in a safe place where you don't think someone's going to take it out of your car, break in, definitely do that, or just leave it in your pocket, in your purse. If you're worried about time, you can always wear a watch if
Right,
that's a concern for you. But, um, I think there's definitely something to being present, even when you're with your friends. At least I know I put my phone away and we kind of just have a understanding with my friends and I. We're like, hey, if we do have to have our phones out, that's fine. But like, let everyone know that we care about each other, but a work call is coming. So the phone has to be out. Because I think people do, the second you whip out your phone and go like this, the other person immediately feels slighted or ignored,
right,
even if it's the most important phone call of your life. Like, someone does that mid conversation, you're like, whew, that just feels rude. So give yourself all the chances to connect with someone and just take the phone out of it. If you want to take your phone out to like show someone pictures of a story you're talking about or something like that, that's obviously totally acceptable. But I think being on your phones, definitely a no-no. And then you know what, actually, now that all menus are basically a QR code,
right.
I kind of hate it because
Oh,
the
yeah,
first like 5 minutes of the date, you're like, okay, scan the thing. And then you're both there, like scrolling through your phone, you're looking at the menus. But
right,
it always looks like if you look around a restaurant, it looks like people are just ignoring each other.
right. Yeah, that's true.
So here's my suggestion to combat that is say, hey, let's look at the menu together and pick something out to share. Put the phone in the middle, scroll through. Then at least you're doing it together because it does feel weird. Even when I'm on a date with my fiance, I like hate that we're both just on our phones looking at the menus. It feels weird.
Right. Yes. That is a good point. I did forget about the QR code thing, and yes, that I'm guilty of that. That has happened
We
because
all are, yeah.
I put it away, but then I say, wait a minute, I need to take it out for this, and then yeah, and then usually someone's phone ends up being on the table because you say, well, we're going to need this to pull it back up again in a second to order the next cocktail or something.
Yeah. No, it is. Yeah. I mean, I know some restaurants are going back to some menus now. Who knows if the QR codes are a thing that will be forever, but it kind of seems super convenient for the restaurant. So it could stick around.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yes. So if you can focus on the person, minimize the phone thing,
Totally.
and to wrap things up, when the date is over, the first date is over, follow up. Like, what's a good follow up? I know that for the when you're doing your matchmaking, you do the follow up.
I
But
do.
if if, for example, it wasn't you doing the follow up, how should a person, in your opinion, follow up after the first date?
So I know that there are all these things out there saying like, don't text someone right after the date, or wait 24 hours, or wait 3 days, or I just tell people do what you want to do. If this is the person you're going to be spending time with, maybe also communicate with them to see how they like to be communicated with. This is actually something I've done a lot of coaching with one of my clients on, where either he wasn't texting the woman enough and she lost interest, then he was texting too much and she was like, whoa, whoa, coming on too strong. So now we're on date 3, and he actually asked her at the end of the day, he said, hey, I had such a great time getting to know you. And she was like, yeah, I had a great time too. So they know they want to do a second date. He said, I'd love to chat with you before we meet up again. Is a phone call better? Or are you super busy during the day? So maybe I should just text you at night. Or are you someone who likes to text all day? Because I want to normalize us just people are just having these conversations rather than sitting at home with our friends and saying, oh, should I text him? Should I text her? What
Right.
should I say? Imagine if you just knew that, okay, this person, they're super busy doing work. And she said, okay, she's not going to respond. So we're going to do a phone call on Wednesday, and then our next date will be on Friday. And that's it.
Perfect. And
Yeah.
I also, uh, the hard way, started doing that myself because I always felt that I was doing the wrong thing because, like you said, I'd either be like, oh, I think this is too much, or they might be waiting and I'm not, I'm not texting enough, or I
Yeah.
don't know, am I supposed to call? So then I just started at the end of the date, while the date is ending, I say, okay, here's what here's my plan. So, and if I don't want another date, then I'll just say, I'll be in touch. And then when I get home, I say, you know, I'll tell them, okay, it
Yeah.
didn't quite work. But I was in touch. I let them know. But if I do want another date, I tell them at the end of the date, I say, hey, I would like to see you again. I don't know what you're thinking. If you do or not, think it over. But I say, what I'm going to do is either tonight or tomorrow. So if I'm going to do it that night, I'll say tonight. If I'm going to do it the next day, I'll say tomorrow morning, I'll send you a text. And then from there, either you can say yes, this, or no, this. And then either way is fine. And then that way, I just want to put it out there just so the expectation, here's what I'm planning on doing. This is how I feel. So you don't have to guess. This is where I'm coming from. And then here's my next action step. And then from there, you can either say yes or no. And then from there, then there'll be more communication. If they say yes, then I'll say, okay, do you prefer phone calls? Do you prefer texts?
Yeah.
What does it look like to you? And then that, it just makes it so much easier.
It does, because you'll drive yourself crazy trying to figure out what someone else wants. So just ask. And if they can't tell you, that might be someone that, is just not good at communicating, and it could be a red flag right up front.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Abby. I definitely appreciate your time today and
Yeah.
sharing your awesome knowledge about dating for us. And can you let us know where we can find you if somebody wants to get in touch with you and get some more information on your matchmaking or the events that you throw?
Yeah, of course. I would love to have any and all single people who feel like they're ready for a serious commitment, serious relationship. You can follow me on Instagram at Modern Yenta or at The Social MM. So my company is The Social Modern Matchmaking, and my website is thesocialmm.club. Or you can even just text me too if you got some questions. I'm always around 303-842-4762. Not afraid to just blast my phone number out there.
All right. Thank you so much, Abby. I definitely appreciate it. And
Yeah.
I look forward to talking more in the future.
Of course. You can't get rid of me now. I mean, we're going to have to do events together and all the things.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Thanks so much for having me.
Anytime.